Hello, I'm Abby.
And I'm Jessica, and in this video we will be talking about our experience preparing and implementing a coding activity in a mathematics classroom in collaboration with grade 7 and 8 teachers.
We chose to use a resource from a site called MathUp. The activity was based in Scratch and focused on the coding concepts of subprograms or blocks and efficiency, as well as the math topics of dilations and similar shapes.
With this, the learning goals were to perform and understand dilations of two-dimensional shapes and know the properties of similar 2D shapes, as well as writing and executing code that includes subprograms to make similar shapes.
Our activity was broken up into 4 parts, which involved students predicting which shapes a given code would produce, using and modifying this to create their own shapes, and then using this to explore what scale factors are and do. They would then put all of this together to create patterns or make other connections relating to the topics. You can refer to the accompanying resource for more details about the activity itself.
So a key moment that stood out to us was when a student asked what shape she should make, and I said, "Oh, how about a triangle?" And then she looked at me and she said, "No, that's too easy." And then another student said, "Oh look, I made a star." We thought this stood out because it showed the positive mindset that students have towards coding and how they actively seek out challenges, which we felt directly related to agency. They were taking pride in their work and ownership over it and wanted to share their success with us and their peers.
The next key moment was when we were circulating and one student said, "I don't know how to do it." This moment allowed us to teach the students some strategies of how to persevere and solve problems on their own as well as with their peers. One strategy was reusing and remixing, which in this case could be done through changing the side length or the number of sides in the code. Another strategy was writing it down on paper to better visualize what the code was doing. We thought that this also related well to preparing problems for computational solutions since it involved breaking down the code and looking at it.
The last key moment had to do with testing and debugging. One student was struggling with trying to figure out why the code wasn't working, and she had been working with someone else before calling me over. So I went over and tried to help as well, but I couldn't figure it out, so then I called Abbey over. And then we were all looking at it together and went through some of the different testing and debugging strategies. We first tried reading through each part of the code individually, and then broke it down to test the code in individual parts. This highlighted how working together and communication are important. Not only did we have to communicate with the student, but she also had to communicate with us to tell us what she wanted her program to do so that we would be able to help her.
One recommendation that we have is to ensure that the students have the necessary math knowledge prior to implementing an activity like ours. Even though coding allows for many different types of learners, if students do not have the background knowledge, they won't be able to make the connections. For example, in our activity, a student didn't know how to alter the code to make a rectangle because he didn't know what a rectangle was or the properties of it.
Overall, we thought our implementation went well, and we were able to gain confidence in the classroom and see what we learned in action. We were also able to see how students respond to coding in a math class, and were surprised to see just how much they already knew and how willing they were to learn. By working with the teachers as a part of the collaboration, we were able to gain feedback and tips on delivering a lesson and knowing how we should focus on different aspects for the different needs of their classes, as well as learning real-time how to adapt the lesson to meet these needs. In turn, we were able to bring our coding knowledge and experience to them and the students, which helped in making everyone more comfortable with coding.